Now that we learned about variables and filters in templates, it's time to move on. And next, I want to have a look at tags and lists and how we can use those features in templates. Now, tags are something you already heard about when I introduced you to filters. Tags are simply another syntax feature that's built into the DTL, the Django template language. And if you have a look at the official tag reference, you'll see that there are a lot of tags. Some tags will be used rarely, but there also are a lot of tags which you will use quite a bit. For example, the for tag. The for tag allows us to loop through content. And you can read all about it here, but of course, I'll also show it to you in detail in this course. So we actually got a list already in our application, in our project here. In views.py, in the index function, we are creating that list of months here, this list. And currently we're creating that all here in the view without a template, which of course is not how we would want to do it. Therefore, as a first step, I'll add a new template file named index.html in that challenges folder in the templates folder. In that index.html file, I'll again create a standard skeleton. And thanks to the Django extension, this built-in skeleton creation doesn't seem to work anymore, but that's no problem. I can copy that from the challenge HTML file, copy in the skeleton here, and I will now change the title to all challenges, hard-coded. And then the body, I want to output that list, so that unordered list. So we'll still have these unordered list tags here, but now inside of that unordered list, I want to generate these list items dynamically. And we can easily do that with that for tag. Now for that, we first of all need to go back to the view, and here in that index function, I now want to change what I return. Instead of returning that response data, which I generate like this here, I rather want to return render and then pass request to render as you learned it, then specify the template which should be rendered, which is in the challenges subfolder, and then the index.html file, and then pass in the context. Now, one side note about this path here, this now shows really well why we have that extra challenges subfolder in templates, because whilst it might have been unlikely that we have another template called challenge in some other templates folder in some other app, it's very likely that we might have more than one index.html file across all the apps we might have in our project. That's why this extra challenges subfolder is that best practice I mentioned before. But that's just a side note. Back to this context. In this context, I now want to pass my list of months to the template so that it can be output there. Now we generate that list of months here, and I still want to do that here. So I'll pass my months key. The key name is up to you though, and set the value to that months list, which I'm generating here. We can get rid of the list items variable because we don't need that anymore. Now with that, I'm passing that list of month names, which we're generating, to the template. And in the template, we can use that now. Here we want to generate all those list items with the anchor tag inside of them. So here we then also want to have those anchor tags with some link in the end, of course, also. And we want to generate one list item per month in our months list. So we need to loop through all the items in the template here. And that's exactly what we can do with that for block. A block in the DTL is created with curly braces as well, but not double curly braces, but instead single curly braces with a percentage sign. Then there you have your block name, like for, and you see that now the color also changed. And then you basically have that normal Python for loop syntax. So here we can then have for month in months. This name, month, is up to you. Months is only partially up to you because, of course, this should be the name you're setting as a key in your context. So here I'm setting months as a name for my context key for this dictionary here. And therefore, here we also want to refer to that months list to loop through it. Now, you also need to tell Django where this block ends. So which content should be repeated for all the months. Here I want to create one list item per month, but not one closing UL tag. And therefore, here we close that block with end for. And that's important. In Python, you use indentation to determine what belongs to a for loop or to an if statement or to a function. You use indentation for that. In the DTL, so in the templates, you don't use indentation. It does not matter how this is indented. You could write it like this and it would be fine as well. Instead, here you clearly need to mark the beginning and the end of a block with this beginning syntax in case of the for block and end for to close it. And this tells Django which content should be repeated for every month in your months list. Now, Django then also gives you access to this month, which you store in a variable named month, for every iteration inside of that repeated content. So outside of that block, we can not use month. So trying to reference it here would fail because this month variable is only available inside of that block. But there we can use it. And therefore here we can again use the double curly braces to interpolate a value, so to create that placeholder, and then, for example, output month here like this. We also might want to capitalize this, and we can therefore use the title filter as we learned it. And with that, if we save this and reload, we again create that list, but now based on the template. And you can tell that this is the template's work if you click on one of the months, because currently this doesn't do anything because I haven't set that link location yet. But that's something we're also going to do in a second, of course. But that's now how we can use tags, another important feature, and how we especially can use the for tag, which is a super important feature which you need basically in all web projects you're going to build with Django, because it turns out that you typically have lists everywhere. Now with that, let's next focus on outputting that link location here.